Hello and happy Chiefs Thursday to all of you tuning in. Today I've got my red shirt on in honor of the Kansas City Chiefs who are playing tonight. But I also want to say happy Hispanic Heritage Month. That kicks off today, and I know there are many celebrating. And so to you, I wish you a very happy month. And I'm excited to learn more about Hispanic heritage over the coming days through as many means as possible. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Caroline Milton. I'm the owner of Milton Coaching Collective. We help individuals and organizations build a truly preventative approach to burnout. We're on a mission to change the way we work so that we can retain our talent, be high performing, and still enjoy life on the other side of work. So every Thursday, I come here live with you to talk about how you can engineer your energy. How can you feel more productive, more energetic, more well throughout your life so that you truly can grasp that fulfillment that you so deeply desire. A lot of times I have esteemed guests with me, but today I am flying solo because I'm really excited to talk to you about this specific concept of true colors. And no, I'm not talking about the hit song of True Colors. I'm talking about the personality quiz. Now, I recently took the True Colors personality quiz. I did it for a client that I've been working with, and I thought it was really interesting because essentially True Colors asks you a series of questions, asks you to identify with certain statements, and then you develop a better sense of what your color type is. There are four colors. There's orange, gold, green, and blue, and you're probably going to be a mix of those four colors. Or you might be really heavily one color more than the others. For me, I found myself to be a mix, but my highest colors were orange and blue. So don't worry, I'm going to talk a little bit more about what each of these colors means in just a moment. But it's a really interesting concept because when we talk about leading and engaging with our team, we have to have a good sense for one another's working strengths and styles. This is a key element to burnout prevention. This is what we see demonstrated in really high-performing teams in the U.S. Army and at Mayo Clinic. It's what Paula Davis references in her book, Beating Burnout at Work. So in order to truly move to that level of high performance, we have to have an understanding of what our working styles and strengths are. So knowing what each team member identifies as can help you know what might incline them towards burnout and how to work with them in order to prevent burnout. So if you're ready, let's settle up. Let's dive into true colors and what they might mean. So like I said, I'm an orange. It's one of my top two colors, which kind of surprised me at first, but the more that I read about oranges, the more that I resonated with them. Do you consider yourself to be witty, charming, impulsive, optimistic, or very physical in how you work? I definitely do. And if you resonate with those, you might be an orange. Now, oranges love to focus on the now. They're very present. They want to be engaged in the current moment. They want to be considered unique. Oranges love excitement. They love activity. You're going to really see your oranges excel during your team building activities. Oranges are prone to burnout when they are stuck in monotony or if there's a lack of clear prioritization from the organization or from their direct manager. So how do we engage with the oranges on our team to ensure that they're not trending towards burnout? Well, we do that by engaging in action-packed projects. So get them very physically engaged in the work to be done. Clarify the practical application of the task. Make sure that that's really clear to the oranges on your team. Provide oranges an opportunity to engage and be entertaining or playful. Allow your oranges autonomy. This is a big one for oranges. We need to know the big picture of what needs to be done, and then we want to have space to be able to identify the best way for us to do that work. So being a very strict micromanager with an orange, it's not going to be a good situation. Oranges need that autonomy to really flourish. With oranges, you need to be clear and concise. If you get too stuck in the weeds, if you get too detailed, then oranges are going to tune out and they're going to lose focus. So be clear and concise with your communication with oranges. When you recognize an orange on your team, be sure to recognize their unique contribution to the project. Offer them the chance for competition, whether that's with other oranges or even just gamifying their work. They're really going to respond. I know I really respond to gamification or to competition in my work. And above all else, allow oranges some flexibility. Again, their creative prowess might come in bursts, unpredictable. And so if you allow them some flexibility in order to really thrive, they're going to reward you handsomely. So let's move next to the gold. Do you consider yourself to be loyal, dependable, sensible, faithful, or caring? I know my mom's a gold. She hasn't done this assessment, but these things sound very much like my mother, and for good reason. There are a lot of strengths in being a gold. Golds are very order and systems oriented. They love to have a goal to work towards. They love tasks. They love strategies. They love order. So golds are going to experience dissonance in their work when there isn't order. And especially when there isn't order and there isn't time and space created to allow order to be constructed. So when you're working in a very reactive environment where you're always flying by the seat of the pants, there's no SOPs, there's no systems in place and no opportunity to create those systems, the gold is just going to try to continue to overextend themselves to get those systems in order in place. But they're going to feel like they don't have support from the team, and that'll burn them out. Golds will burn out if they perceive that others on the team aren't following the rules and policies and aren't pulling their weight. Golds will also burn out when they're constantly required to switch tasks. So they have competing priorities and they don't know how to delegate or determine where to spend their time. So how do you work well with a gold? Assign golds work that requires analytical thinking. Cast a vision for them for the future. Allow them flexibility and room to be creative in problem solving. Avoid repetition in their work. Recognize their competence. So golds really exist on the past. Golds love to gather the data of what has worked for them in the past and then apply that in the present. So recognize the wisdom that a gold has gathered throughout time. Allow them time and opportunities to process. So if you're a gold, you're logical and analytical. If you recognize these attributes, you might be a green. Analytical, cool, calm, inventive, or hypothetical. Again, if those really stand out to you, you're a green. Greens can be prone towards burnout when when change is required without their buy-in. So if they think that change should best be handled in this way, and you think change should best be handled in this way, they're not going to follow along with that change as handily as some of their other peers. And so you really have to get their buy-in on how to move forward with change. You need to provide feedback as an expert. Greens will also burn out when they have repetition and redundancy in their tasks. Because they're constantly searching for data, they love to be problem solving. If they're repetitive and redundant, they're going to burn out. Greens also need time to reflect and to ponder and to problem solve. My dad, he's a green. I know my dad is a green. So a green needs that time to really think through all of the possibilities to arrive at a conclusion. So if you're working in a very fast-paced environment that doesn't allow time for a green to really munch on something, then they're going to be more prone for burnout. So how do we work with greens? My gold slide was incorrect. It had the green attributes. Greens require that analytical thinking. We'll come back to golds here in a moment. Greens require that analytical thinking. They require that you cast a vision for the future. They need room and flexibility to be creative in their problem solving. So you need to create space for greens to work. They want to be recognized for their competence, for their intelligence. And so when you reward and recognize greens, you need to be really cognizant of this. They require logical feedback. So they want to view feedback as coming from a subject matter expert. That might not always be you as their manager. So find that expert who can really deliver the feedback that's needed for the green to understand it. Make sure that the green is thinking in terms of the future. Both they and their blue counterparts are really focused on the futuristic, casting that vision. So they need to be able to embrace that vision for the future, and that will allow them to problem solve effectively. Also, cut through the chit chat with your greens. They don't love the small talk, and so they want to be very clear and to the point. They want you to say, here's those reports you needed, and move on with the day. They want to be diligent and they want to be to the point. So cut through that social chit chat. That leads us to our blues. Now, if you consider yourself to be enthusiastic, communicative, idealistic, peaceful, or sympathetic, you might be a blue. I'm definitely a high blue. That kind of makes me a blue and an orange. That makes me a Chicago Bear, which as a daughter of a Packers fan, could really throw things off in our family dynamics. But blues really crave connection and meaning. They're very people oriented. They are great leaders because they're empathetic. They cast a vision for the future as well. They envision that future of work. And so it can oftentimes be a blue who's a really compelling visionary and leader in teams. But blues tend to burn out when there's dissonance in team dynamics, when they don't experience strong relationships inside the workplace. Blues burn out when there's a lack of communication. They want to be apprised of what's going on at all times. So when you leave a blue in the dark, they're going to get really frustrated. Blues also burn out with a lot of tedious details in work. They're bigger picture visionaries. And so they want to work with the bigger picture. If you give them too much tedious details, they're going to tune out. So when you're working with the blue, assign them work that requires collaboration. Cast a meaningful vision for their work. Lead with honesty and openness. Address conflict early and allow them to express feelings, thoughts, and emotions. Leverage their strength in communication and their inclination towards people. When you recognize a blue, recognize their creativity and their ability to resolve conflict. Blues love one-on-one feedback. I know that to be true for myself. I want to know how I can improve, and I want you to deliver it to me straightforward, but by myself. So always find a safe place to speak openly with one another when you're delivering feedback to a blue. And finally, get to know your blues. Find out what makes them tick. They want to be seen personally. They need that recognition of self. So make sure that you're really striving for that with the blues on your team. So like I said, I mixed up my gold and my green slides, but no worries. We'll come back to the golds. So again, those golds are going to be very task oriented. So when you're working with a gold, you want to be able to delegate and designate who's working where. Create those broader systems and processes and be very detail oriented when you're working with gold. So when you recognize a gold, you want to recognize their contributions towards order. They're going to really respond well to that. So that leaves us with our 4 personality types: your oranges, your golds, your greens, and your blues. Each of these personality types needs something different in the workplace, and they're all incredibly valuable to the way your team works and operates. If you're missing one of those components, you might be missing out on truly delivering high quality work and a high performing team. So you should strive to have a mix of those personalities on your team. If you haven't done the True Colors assessment with your team, it's pretty quick, pretty simple, and could give you valuable insights on how you can all work together more thoroughly. So that's it for today. Thanks for being here with me. Every Thursday, I go live with a new topic on how you can engineer your energy. And next week, I'll be back on Thursday, September 22nd. And don't have next week's topic quite detailed yet, but we're going to dive into more conversation on how individuals and organizations can prevent burnout. Once again, I'm Caroline Milton. To connect with me further and learn more about the services we provide at Milton Coaching Collective, you can head to miltoncc.com. If not, I'll see you next Thursday. Be well.